Hey Year 7, this video is on exercise 5E, which is on multiplying and dividing expressions on page 288 of your textbook. So before we start, remember that A times B is written as AB. Now this means that 5ABC is the same as 5CAB. Now question is, why is that? And we can explain that because, well, 5ABC actually means 5 times A times by B times by C. And that's the same as 5 times C times A times B. Reason being is that if I, for example, have 3 times 6, that's going to be 18. But 6 times 3 is also 18. So when we multiply, it doesn't matter what order we multiply. So we know that A times B is written as AB. And we know that A divided by B is written as A over B. And we know that A times A is written as A squared. Right, so for example, 2 squared is just 2 times 2. So, numbers should be written first and per numeral, in alphabetical order. So that's what we typically write. So for example, we have B times 2 times A. We normally write it as the number first, so 2, and then the first letter, the second letter, so A, and then B. When dividing, we have common factors in the numerator and the denominator, and they can be cancelled. And we'll go through that in a second. But the idea is we can divide both sides by the same number so that we can get a more simple answer. Let's go through some examples. So on the left, I've got write D times 5 times E times F without multiplication sign. So this one's quite straightforward. All it's saying is you write the number first, so 5, and then whatever comes first in the alphabet. So I know that D comes first, and then E, F comes next, and that's it. I've written D times 5 times E times F without multiplication signs. For B, it says simplify 3x times 5y times 2z, giving you a final answer without multiplication signs. So this one's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to purely focus on the numbers first. So I've got 3 times 5 times 2. Now I know 3 times 5 is 15. I know that 15 times 2 gives me 30. So I know all those numbers together. So the 3, 5, 2, they multiply to give me 30. Now I look at the letters. So I've got X, Y, Z. I'm thinking which one comes first? Well, I know that X comes first, and then Y, and then Z. Okay? So I know that the answer is going to be 30, X, Y, Z. Next, I'm going to simplify 2A times by 5A, and that gives me, well, I'm thinking once again to multiply the coefficient. So 2 times 5 gives me 10. But now I've got 2 A's. Instead of writing A, remember from earlier that A times A is written as A squared. So I'm going to write 10A squared. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's move on. So write 3x plus 1 divided by 5 without a division sign. So we know that the division is actually going to be a fraction. So I'm going to write 3x plus 1. What these brackets mean is that the whole thing on that side, inside the bracket, is divided by 5. So I'm going to write divided by 5. That's it. And that's for A. B is a little bit more tricky, and we'll get to that now. So 8AB, I'm going to write it a bit big over here, 8AB over 12B. So the first thing I'm going to do is, what is in both of them? Well, I know that there's B in both of them. So I'm going to divide by B. And what that means is that essentially I can just get rid of them. And that gives me 8A over 12, because I got rid of the B's. But now I'm thinking what goes into both 8A and 12. I know that 4 goes into both 8 and 12. So I'm going to divide this one by 4. And divide the bottom by 4. 8A divided by 4, in other words, what's 8 divided by 4? 2. And I still can't forget the A, so I have to write A. And then over 12 times 4, which is 3. And that's it. Hopefully that makes sense. Best of luck.